Discover how my wife's 200-mile prank revealed incredible truths that forever changed our lives. John Mitchell never imagined that a simple road trip could turn his life upside down. As he sat in the driver's seat of their modest SUV, glancing at his wife, Lisa, her infectious smile lit up the gloomy cloud of debts and responsibilities hanging over him. "Just a light-hearted getaway, John," she chirped, adjusting her sunglasses. But little did he know, her excitement was masking a grander scheme, a playful 200-mile prank that was about to challenge everything he believed about family, love, and community. As they cruised down winding roads, the picturesque landscape slipped by. Rolling hills turned into charming pastures, invoking a sense of peace he'd long forgotten. But fleeting joy quickly faded. Tensions bubbled beneath the surface, unpaid bills and clashes in parenting styles drifted into their conversations, heavy and suffocating like fog. John fought to keep his focus on the road, but as each conversation sparked, the air grew thick with memories of better times that now felt distant. When they passed through Cedar Grove, a struggling rural town, a flicker of desperation caught John's attention. A weathered veteran sat on the sidewalk, his family gathered anxiously around him, faces drawn with worry and fear. Everything shifted in that moment. The steady thrum of their mundane worries echoed briefly in his ears as Lisa turned to him, her eyes pleading for him to act not just as a father and husband, but as a member of a greater community. "Let us help them," she said, her voice steady and resolute. Hesitant at first, John felt an unexpected heat rising in his chest. It was an emotion he hadn't felt in ages, the urge to connect, to care, to be a part of something bigger. The family, struggling under the weight of medical bills, shared their ordeal. As John listened, his heart sank for the desperation they faced. The veteran's values of sacrifice and loyalty clashed with his own worries about cash flow and survival. He began to see himself mirrored in that family. They volunteered their time and resources, creating a bond that strung them all together. The burdens of late bills and tight schedules began to fade like the sun behind the horizon, replaced by the warmth of collaboration and kindness. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The road trip was no longer just a getaway. It was becoming a crucible of truth, revealing layers of emotions long buried beneath the stress of day-to-day life. As they hugged the veteran's family goodbye, John felt the tightness in his chest loosen, replaced with something deeply profound, an opportunity for unity, a shift in perspective. Suddenly, a phone call shattered their moment. John's heart plummeted as Lisa's face turned pale. "It's about the business," she said, her voice trembling. Just when he thought they were on the cusp of something beautiful, uncertainty crept back in. Could this unexpected adventure be enough to reset their lives, or was it merely a delightful distraction from their struggles? As the sun dipped low, he wondered if this road trip was a prank after all, or the first step toward a journey that could change everything. John's fingers tightened around the steering wheel as Lisa's phone slipped from her hand, thudding onto her lap. The fading sunlight streaked shadows across her face, making her look older in that moment. "What about the business?" he asked, dread pooling in his stomach. It's the rental," she stammered, eyes searching his for a glimmer of hope. "There was a fire last night. Everything's damaged." His heart sank as a rush of memories flooded in, the late nights spent managing repairs, the long hours after the kids had gone to bed. Their small rental business had been their lifeline, a dream they had built together brick by brick. And now, just like that, it felt like it was crumbling down. "Is everyone okay?" John finally managed. The thought of the tenants caught in the crisis twisted his emotions. "They got out in time. But we're faced with a huge setback. Insurance won't cover it all." Silence filled the car, wrapping around them like a heavy cloak. The vibrancy of the road trip faded, leaving behind a stark reality. The 200 miles had awakened something inside him, but would it be enough to combat this new storm? "I can't believe this is happening," he whispered, trying to process the implications. Lisa's voice became brave, a flicker of resilience lighting up her features. "We'll get through this, John. We always do." But even as she said it, John could hear the doubt tightly intertwined in her words. The car rolled on, passing by the fading lights of Cedar Grove. Again, he saw the veteran's family, faces strained with worry but now filled with a newfound strength, a determination to rise above hardship. John clenched his jaw, fighting against the sinking feeling. It was easy to get trapped in despair, but they had just witnessed a community coming together. Could they lean into that spirit, too? "We could organize a fundraiser," he began, the idea taking shape in his mind. Lisa turned toward him, surprise evident in her warm brown eyes. "That might actually work. Just think about it. We'll reach out to those who care, maybe even the veteran's family. They might have ideas or connections." The word sparked a light in him that had been so dimmed by stress. They could do this. They could fight back against the tide of what felt hopeless. Hope began to bubble up within him, urging his heart to keep pushing into unfamiliar territory. "Let's start with a plan," he said, determination coloring his voice. That evening, as they camped in the lot of a quaint diner, the atmosphere began to shift once more. They leaned against the hood of their SUV, maps sprawled out before them, brainstorming ideas with the fading sun as their backdrop. Laughter bubbled up as they jotted down names of friends and local businesses that might want to contribute, but just as the spark of excitement warmed the air between them, John's phone buzzed relentlessly. The screen illuminated a string of notifications. Puzzled, he opened them, and what he saw made his heart race: a series of emails from the rental property listings. "Lisa, there are offers coming in for the rental," he trailed off, feeling the weight of possibility solidify around them. Her eyes widened, and for a moment, sparks of joy danced between them like the stars beginning to scatter across the darkening sky. What if? But in that instant, the future hung delicately in balance. Would this new turn of events help or hinder what they were trying to achieve? As they huddled closer together, thoughts swirling and dreams colliding, John felt at the fragile thread of hope waiting to be woven into something stronger. Could this road trip really break the cycle of fear and misfortune they'd been caught in? As he glanced at Lisa's hopeful face illuminated by the glow of their phones, he wondered if they might just be on the cusp of a transformation that could change their lives forever. What began as a prank might just lead to the biggest revelation of all. The next morning, sunlight filtered through the trees, bathing their campsite in a warm glow. John awoke with a sense of urgency pulsing in his chest. The emails still fresh in his mind, he turned to Lisa, who was still asleep, her face soft in the morning light. He gently shook her shoulder. "Lisa, wake up. We need to seize the moment." Her eyes fluttered open, confusion quickly giving way to curiosity. "What is it?" "I got some offers for the rental." "Multiple offers?" His voice was buoyant, skipping over the morning haze. With a spark of energy, she sat up, her hair tousled but her excitement radiating. "Really? We should call them right now." As they both huddled over the phone, John's heart raced, fluttering between anxiety and hope. Each call was a step into the unknown. They needed to act fast and make the best decisions for their future. "Okay, so what do we say?" Lisa asked, biting her lip. "Just be honest. Discuss our situation, the value of the property, and let them know we might have a fundraiser coming up. It could be an opportunity to keep us afloat." Together, they formulated a plan. 2 months ago, they would have never imagined themselves in this position, but as they moved through the morning, dialing numbers and exchanging tentative reassurance, they felt stronger. The phone rang. John held his breath as a voice answered on the other end. "Good morning. I'm calling about your rental listing. We're very interested." The conversation flowed naturally, and John relayed the challenges they faced. He sensed a connection building. The potential buyer expressed understanding and even shared a story of their own struggles, echoing the resilience they admired in the veterans. "This property means a lot to me, it reminds me of the community I grew up in. I want to help you recover from this. Let's discuss a fair price." By the end of the call, John felt a surge of relief. "That went well," he said, a grin spreading across his face. Lisa high-fived him, her laughter ringing out like music. It was the first time in a while that excitement seemed to overshadow worry. "Now what? We can't just wait for offers to come to us," he mused. "We need to act fast. We can start planning the fundraiser today." She replied, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "We could call it Rise Together, and gather local support." Their plans unfolded over breakfast, and as they plotted routes through town, ideas bubbled up like soda fizzing in a glass. They imagined bake sales, live music, art auctions, anything that could draw people together to contribute. As they shared notes and maps, each idea ignited something deeper within them, a shared purpose that had been dulled for too long. They were no longer just fighting to save their business, they were crafting a connection with the community built on shared histories and collective uplift. Later, when they stepped into town, the familiar sights felt drenched in possibility. The cafe buzzed with locals, their faces now friendly instead of just familiar. Lisa walked tall, confidence woven into her step, the fleeting worries of yesterday starting to dissolve in the warm sunlight. "Look over there." Lisa pointed to a sign for a local festival happening next weekend. "We could set up a booth." They approached the festival organizers, sharing their vision. Dreams collided with practicalities, and soon they were given space to spread the word directly to the community. "This is it, John. This is how we'll reach out," she said, her voice alive with passion. But just as they were feeling the thrill of momentum, John's phone buzzed again. A text illuminated the screen, and his breath hitched. An offer to buy the rental a significantly higher amount than he had expected had just hit their inbox. "Lisa, we might have a real buyer," he said, trying to absorb the weight of the news. "Should we accept it? What if we say yes?" And then his heart raced, caught between extreme hope and undeniable fear of losing control over their future. What if they finally had a chance to secure their dream, and yet it might disrupt the deeper connection they were starting to form with their community? As they stood there, in the lively buzz of the festival, surrounded by laughter and conversation, John could feel their fate hanging in the balance. Would this offer mark the beginning of their transformation or pull them back into the depths of uncertainty? The moment felt profound, and as they locked eyes, the possibilities felt endless. John stood frozen for a moment, phone still buzzing in his hand. A mix of excitement and fear twisted in his stomach. The offer was enticing, yet with every word they exchanged with the community, he realized the stakes were much higher. "Let us step aside for a minute," he suggested, and they slipped away from the merry chaos of festival goers, the sounds of laughter and music fading into the background. "Okay, think about it," Lisa urged, her brow furrowed. "This is a substantial amount of money. We could pay off debts, maybe even start fresh. But at what cost?" John replied. "We're finally connecting with people here, Lisa. This fundraiser could be our lifeline, something that might not just help us, but also the community." "Yes, but what if we miss this opportunity?" Her eyes searched his. "What if we never get an offer like this again?" He looked down at the phone in his hand. The screen glowed with potential, but it felt heavy. Each word in that offer weighed on him like a stone. "Why don't we sleep on it?" John said finally, his voice steady despite the turmoil inside him. "We can discuss it in the morning." Lisa let out a slow breath, her shoulders dropping as she seemed to relinquish some of the tension she carried. "You're right. Nothing better than a fresh perspective." They returned to the festival, but John's mind was only half there. As people streamed past them with plates of food and children on their shoulders, he caught sight of a family enjoying a game together. It struck him how connected people could be. Were they really ready to uproot everything, leaving behind the bonds they were just beginning to nurture? Before they could lose themselves further in their thoughts, a young boy zipped by, face painted like a lion, dragging his older sister behind him. She laughed, her voice bright, infectious, pulling John into a moment of joy. It reminded him of quieter days filled with laughter, carefree bliss. "Look at all of this," Lisa said, her eyes sparkling. "This is what we're trying to save, right? Community over profit." With each word, it felt like hope was creeping back in, like sunlight breaking through a dense fog. He nodded, feeling the warmth of possibility fill his chest. We could create something bigger than just selling the place. Something that lasts. An older gentleman approached them, a comforting smile on his face. "You two are the ones with the rental property, right?" "Yes," John replied, intrigued. "I heard about your fundraiser," the man continued. "We could use more local events in town. You have our support." John felt a rush of energy, the words spurring his heart to race again. Here was a continuation of their connection, an extension of the community they were beginning to embrace. "Thank you," Lisa said, her voice full of promise. As the day continued, they gathered ideas, and people volunteered their time and creativity for the fundraiser. Each gesture felt like tying a knot in a growing tapestry, a tapestry woven of shared dreams, struggles, and hope. But as the sun dipped below the horizon, John pulled his phone back out. The offer still loomed, tempting and daunting. "We'll need to decide soon," he murmured as he noticed Lisa chatting animatedly with a group of festival-goers. They seemed captivated by her energy, drawn into her vision, the choice pressed upon him like a weight on his chest. What would it mean for them accepting the offer, building something new, or staying and nurturing the budding relationships they were beginning to forge? As he glanced around at the smiling faces basking in the glow of their community, he couldn't help but wonder, was it time for a leap of faith or a cautious retreat? Their journey had just begun, and the decision ahead hung like the last rays of sun against the evening sky. The next morning, the sun peeked through the curtains, casting a warm glow around the room. John awoke to the sound of Lisa in the kitchen, her laughter echoing softly. It settled somewhere deep in his chest, a cozy reminder of why they made this journey together. He shuffled out of bed, the weight of the previous day's decision still lingering. As he poured himself a cup of coffee, his mind buzzed with the possibilities. Lisa entered the room, her hair tousled and an apron wrapped around her waist. "Morning." She beamed. "I made pancakes." "Looks incredible," he replied, forcing a smile, hoping it would crack the tension held tightly in his chest. As they sat down to eat, the chatter was light, discussing plans for the day ahead, their usual morning banter. But it was when Lisa asked, "So, what do you think about the offer?" that the air shifted. John's heart raced. The question hung between them, a thread of uncertainty. "I don't know, Lisa. It's tempting," but he trailed off, searching for the right words. "But we have so much here now," she finished for him, her eyes glistening with understanding. "The people we met, the support, it feels different." He nodded, the truth of her words resonating deeply. Each face from the festival, every smile from the children playing in the distance, it all felt like a part of something they couldn't just abandon. "Maybe we could run a fundraiser, see how it goes. If it flops, we'll know it's time to cut ties," Lisa suggested, her tone hopeful. "And if it thrives?" John's voice rose slightly, excitement blending with uncertainty. "What if we find our footing here? Then we build something solid," she replied, passion igniting in her eyes. Just then, a knock came from the front door, jolting both of them. John shot a glance at Lisa, surprise flickering across his face. "I'll get it," he said, placing his coffee down and walking toward the door. He opened it to find a neighbor he hadn't met yet, a woman in her 50s with curly gray hair and a wide-brimmed hat, holding a basket of fresh produce. "Hi there. I'm May. I heard you two are planning a fundraiser," she said with a grin, her warm eyes twinkling like sunlight. "Yes. We are," John replied, feeling a wave of relief wash over him. "We're still organizing it. Well, I've got some extra veggies from my garden." Thought I could lend a hand, she offered, pushing the basket forward. We're all in this together, right? A smile spread across John's face. That's incredibly generous of you. Yes. Thank you so much. Lisa joined them, her eyes lighting up at the sight of the colorful offerings. This will really help. As they discussed the fundraiser details, May shared stories of previous events that brought the community together. With every story, John's heart swelled. It felt good to be part of something bigger, to weave a narrative that included not just their hopes but the whole community's. After some time, as May headed back home, John turned to Lisa. What if we ask more people to contribute? Everyone has something they can offer. Great idea. Lisa grinned. If we spread the word, it could grow into something amazing. The adrenaline coursed through John as clarity began to wash over him. They were building a bridge between their dreams and the community's needs. Later that evening, as twilight enveloped the town, John sat on the porch, heart still racing. The phone buzzed again, breaking the serene moment. He looked down. It was a message from the company with the tempting offer. With his finger hovering over the screen, the glow of the phone illuminated the uncertainty etched on his face. They had begun to find their way forward, but what if they were just one decision away from derailing everything they built? His heart beat louder, and he felt the weight of the world on his shoulders. Could they really forge a new path together, or would the allure of a quick escape prove too strong to resist? And behind that flickering screen, the call to choose between dreams or risk hung in the air like the twilight. The next morning was bright, the promise of a new day inviting despite the weight still pressing on John's mind. He woke again to the sound of laughter, but this time it had a different edge, a lightness that almost felt foreign. He dressed quickly, the decision still looming. After pouring his coffee, he hesitated, staring out the window at the bustling street below. John! Lisa called from the kitchen, her voice cheerful. You have to hurry. I've got a surprise. He raised an eyebrow and stepped into the kitchen, the aroma of cinnamon filling the air. There, spread across the table, were stacks of freshly baked cinnamon rolls, melting cream cheese frosting drizzling down the sides. Wow! His tension eased just a little, replaced by a smile. You really went all out this morning. Just thought it'd be a fun way to kick off our planning. Her eyes sparkled with excitement. Yeah, well. I definitely like the plan, he replied, feeling a flicker of joy. They both sat down and dug in, laughing and sharing stories. But the conversation naturally shifted as Lisa brought up the fundraiser again. I was thinking, she started, wiping a bit of frosting from her chin, maybe we could set up a booth at the local farmer's market. Our first bit of visibility. That's a great idea, John said, leaning in with renewed interest. It could draw in more people, maybe more contributors. Yes. And everyone loves a good cinnamon roll. Lisa laughed, clearly delighted. As they jotted down ideas and made a tentative plan, John felt warmth in his chest. Maybe this was right. Maybe this was where they belonged. But as the day wore on and they headed to the market to scout for a location, that nagging message from his company kept creeping back into his thoughts. What if they finished this fundraiser and it floundered? What if they were wasting their time? Hey, you alright? Lisa's voice pulled him back, concern etched on her face. You've been kind of quiet. Just thinking about everything, he admitted, searching for a way to explain the worry clouding his mind. What if we don't get enough donations? What if it's not enough to keep us afloat? Lisa paused, expression shifting as she took a deep breath. Then we learn from it. We try again. This isn't just about money, it's about the connections we're building. This community, it's worth it. Her words wrapped around the edges of his anxiety, easing them just enough to let a sliver of hope break through. They dropped off a proposal at the farmer's market manager's booth and were met with enthusiasm. The manager, a kind woman named Clara, shared stories of past fundraisers that had taken off, flourishing efforts born from community spirit and collaboration. See? Lisa whispered with a grin. We can do this. Underneath the bright morning sun, something began to stir within John, a mix of excitement and the thrill of possibility. The idea of forging a path alongside Lisa seemed bright, almost shining like those cinnamon rolls. Just as they were about to leave, John's phone buzzed again, vibrating against his leg. He pulled it out to find a reminder about a meeting regarding the job offer, scheduled for later that week. "Hey, Lisa," he started, uncertainty creeping back in. As they walked to the car, he could feel the weight of the choice looming larger than ever. They had so much to gain, and yet the potential to lose it all felt paralyzing. Could I really turn my back on this? He thought, heart racing once more. Just then, a child came running past, laughter spilling freely into the air, a joyful reminder of what they were fighting for. Would he let go of this vibrant possibility for something safer, more predictable? To find out, John would need to wrestle with his heart and that message, balancing hope against fear. What choice would he make, and what would it mean for the life they were building together? John's hand trembled slightly as he put the phone back in his pocket, the meeting reminder feeling heavier than before. He climbed into the car, glancing over at Lisa. With her hair catching the afternoon sun and a smile brightening her face, she looked every bit as determined as he felt confused. "What's next on the agenda?" she asked, reaching for her notebook. The scribbles and drawings filled the pages, a testament to their creative energy that morning. "Let us stop by the local cafe for ideas on more flavors for our rolls," he suggested, trying to divert his mind from his growing unease. "Sounds perfect," Lisa chirped, tapping her pen on the page excitedly as John pulled out of the parking space. As they made their way to the cafe, John's thoughts drifted back to the job offer. It felt tantalizingly close, but the uncertainty echoed in his head louder than the car radio. "Great news. You could get back to what you know," it whispered, tempting him with security. He shook his head, trying to dismiss the voice. "John." Lisa's voice broke through once more. "You sure you're okay?" "Yeah, just thinking," he murmured as they parked. Inside the cafe, the scent of roasted coffee beans mingled with the sweetness of pastries. A group of older men gathered around a table, sharing stories and laughter that felt warm and inviting. John watched them, a pang of nostalgia hitting him. "Those guys seem to have it figured out," he said, pointing discreetly. Lisa chuckled. "I think they just enjoy life a bit more. Look at how happy they are." Her eyes sparkled with admiration. "Yeah," he said, but the uncertainty clawed back. Would he ever feel that kind of happiness? Or would he always battle two paths, one safe and known while the other was ripe with risk? Their orders were placed, and Lisa's enthusiasm reignited the flicker within him as they discussed flavors, blueberry, chocolate chip, and even a daring lemon zest. Then she paused, pen hovering above the page. "What if we did a special event? Like a cinnamon roll contest to raise funds? Our own twist." John's heart began to race not from fear, but excitement. "That's brilliant. It would get everyone involved, maybe even help spark more interest." "Exactly." She smiled widely, her joy contagious. For a moment, John found himself lost in her energy, the worries momentarily muted, but even as they laughed about crazy ingredient pairings, deep down, that meeting loomed like a storm cloud on the horizon. The promise of a steady paycheck pulled at him, reminding him of the risks they'd face if they failed. As they left the cafe, hands full of colorful notepads and their heads buzzing with ideas, John watched a couple walk hand in hand, the warmth radiating from them a stark contrast to the churning in his chest. If that was the kind of connection he truly craved, would a job with an easy paycheck bring him any closer? "Let's head home," he said, a longing creeping into his voice. Lisa glanced sideways, concern surfacing once more. "Are you sure? We've got so much momentum." "I just need a moment," he replied, feeling the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. As he drove slowly home, he replayed their laughter, their plans, the promise of community swirling around him like a comforting blanket. But every smile morphed into fleeting shadows of doubt. That evening, after dinner, John found himself pacing the living room. With Lisa in the other room, laughing at a show, the comfort of the moment contrasted sharply against his internal struggle. John stood before the window, watching the faded sunset bleed into darkness. Did he want to climb back into a life that felt distant from his dreams? Or continue this exhilarating yet uncertain journey with Lisa? With each heartbeat, the scene flickered before his eyes: the job, the safe life, versus real connection and the challenge of the unknown. Suddenly, Lisa called from behind him, her tone playfully suspicious. "What is going on in there? Are you contemplating world domination or just what to wear tomorrow?" He chuckled softly, but the laughter faded quickly. "It's a bit more complicated than that," he admitted. Her footsteps approached, and he turned to see the concern in her eyes. "John, we're in this together, remember? Just tell me what you're feeling." In that moment, a flood of emotions washed over him. "What if I don't know how to let go of safety?" he whispered, vulnerability slipping into his voice. Lisa paused, her expression shifting to one of deep understanding. "I can't promise you it'll always be easy, but I can promise you it'll be worth it." And just like that, the enormity of their unspoken reality loomed in the space between them, two paths, intertwined. Would John find the strength to embrace the uncertainty together, or would he fall back to the comfort of what he knew? The weight of choice pressed down, but the heart yearned for connection. With a deep breath, he decided to speak the truth. "I think I'm ready. I think we need to talk about the job more." But as he opened his mouth to explain, a loud crash echoed through the room, pulling them both sharply into the present moment. What was that? Lisa's eyes widened, and John's heart raced. Was it just another challenge, or something that would force their hand? He took a cautious step towards the sound, pulse quickening with each step. What awaited them around the corner? In that split moment, the laughter faded, and an electric tension filled the air, wrapping around them like an invisible thread of fate leading toward the next challenge that could change everything. John's heart raced as he moved cautiously toward the source of the sound. The living room, once filled with warmth and laughter, now felt heavy with unease. He glanced back at Lisa, and the expression on her face mirrored his own, a mix of concern and curiosity. "Stay close," he said softly, trying to steady his nerves. As they rounded the corner into the kitchen, he froze. The table lamp had toppled over, its light dimming as it flickered before dying entirely. A few scattered papers, the very ones that contained their ideas for the cinnamon roll contest, lay strewn across the floor like forgotten dreams. "What happened?" Lisa asked, her voice a gentle inquiry mixed with an undercurrent of worry. I don't know," he replied, his mind racing. "Maybe it slipped." John bent down to pick up the papers, feeling both the weight of the mess and his own spiraling thoughts. What was this sign trying to tell him? It felt trivial, yet somehow symbolic: chaos amidst the dreams they were building together. "Let me help." Lisa knelt beside him, her hands brushing against his. For a moment, the world outside faded. Their fingers intertwined, and he focused on the warmth of her touch, grounding him amidst all the swirling uncertainty. "We'll figure this out together," she said, her voice steady, as if she sensed his internal battle. He nodded, more convinced by her words than his own conflicted heart. But the chaos in the room now mirrored the chaos in his thoughts. Did that crash signify an omen of failure? Or could it translate into something promising, like the unpredictable nature of life itself? Just then, Lisa's phone buzzed on the counter. She reached for it, her brow furrowing as she read the text. John could feel his stomach drop when he noticed the change in her demeanor, the joy slipping away as concern replaced it. "What is it?" he asked, anticipation building inside him. "I have a message from my sister," she said, staring at her screen. "She needs to talk to me about Mom, something urgent." "Is everything okay?" "I don't know," she breathed out, anxiety creeping into her voice. "We just talked last night. I can't believe something would happen so soon." The shift in energy was palpable. "You should call her," John urged. "It could be important." Lisa nodded but hesitated, glancing at the spilled papers as if contemplating how her family's troubles could further disrupt their fragile peace. Go ahead. Just talk to her. We'll be okay here, he reassured, his own unease morphing into concern for her. As she stepped into the hallway, John turned back to the mess, pushing the clutter aside. Thoughts of their dreams clashed with the weight of reality. What if his job offer hadn't just been an external burden? What if it was a reflection of his internal struggle, bringing to light the insecurities he felt? He breathed deeply, focusing. This is more than just about a job, he murmured aloud, the revelation settling like a stone in his heart. They were on the brink of building something that meant more to him than any paycheck ever could. His role was not just to follow a safe path but to embrace the unpredictable ride of chasing their dreams. Footsteps echoed from the hallway, and Lisa reappeared, her expression clouded with worry. She said Mom is in the hospital. It's serious. No. John's heart sank. What can we do? I don't know yet. I need to go to her. Panic flared in John's chest at the idea of being left behind in the chaos, but he pushed it down. Okay, just whatever you need, I'm here for you. Lisa's eyes filled with gratitude, and in that moment, they both realized the truth: they were stronger together, melding their lives, dreams, and challenges into one resilient story. 1,000 thoughts tangled in John's mind, but one thing was certain: they couldn't let this moment derail them. The crash, the message, everything was changing around them. Let us figure this out. Go to your sister, and I'll hold down the fort. We'll make a plan, John said, feeling a surge of purpose. Lisa wrapped her arms around him tightly. I can't do this without you. I need you. As she pulled away, he looked into her eyes, her determination igniting a fire within him. His own path felt blurry, but one truth shone brightly: he wouldn't let fear define either of their journeys. As she grabbed her things, taking a moment to compose herself, John caught himself glancing back at the light, now fully extinguished, and a sense of clarity washed over him. They would face anything together, yet, as she stepped toward the door, a strange knock echoed from the back of the house, louder than before, pulling his attention urgently. John. She called, stopping mid-stride. What was that? His instincts flared, heart pounding wild and raw. What more awaited them just beyond the threshold? The unpredictable path of their lives filled with excitement, fear, and now, uncertainty was about to get even more complicated as they both stepped forward to confront it. Could they channel their strength and discover the true treasures hidden in this chaos? Or would everything they've built shatter at the moment they needed it most? John's heart thundered as he turned toward the noise, the hallway suddenly feeling too narrow and suffocating. A shockwave of confusion hit him. The last thing he wanted was another twist in today's already chaotic reality. Maybe it's just the wind, he suggested, though doubt gnawed at him. No. That didn't sound like wind, Lisa replied, her eyes wide with uncertainty. She stepped closer to him, asserting her strength through their shared tension. Should we check? Before he could answer, curiosity propelled him forward, the protective instinct overcoming his hesitation. Together, they moved down the hall. Each step felt like stepping deeper into a mystery, a looming shadow of something unknown, but they withheld their fear for each other's sake. As they neared the back door, the sound came again, a firm, deliberate rap. The adrenaline surged in John's veins. His instincts screamed, urging him to tread carefully. Who could it be? Lisa whispered, glancing at him with apprehension. I have no idea, he replied, his voice barely escaping his throat. Let us just open the door. With a steadying breath, John reached out and grasped the doorknob. The cold metal sent a shiver down his spine. He hesitated, looking back at Lisa. Her expression, a mix of worry and determination, was enough to spur him on. He twisted the knob and swung the door open. On the other side stood a tall figure, shrouded in darkness. As John's eyes adjusted to the dim light, he recognized the face: Chris, Lisa's estranged brother, who had disappeared from their lives years ago after a family dispute. Chris. Lisa gasped, stepping into the light, disbelief etched across her features. "Hey, it's been a while," he said awkwardly, shoving his hands into his pockets, his eyes darting between them. "What are you doing here?" John managed to squeeze out, shock melding with a vague sense of anger, memories of past family tensions stirring beneath the surface. "I know this is unexpected," Chris began, his voice laced with urgency. "But I've heard about Mom, and I thought I could help." John felt a rush of mixed emotions: protectiveness of Lisa, concern for her mother, and a flood of memories that didn't feel so distant now. "Help? You think you can just waltz back in after all this time and help?" His voice was sharper than he intended, but the hurt lingered too close. "John, let him speak," Lisa interjected, her tone softer. She turned toward her brother, searching for answers in his eyes. "What do you mean?" Chris looked at his sister, and for a moment, it felt as if they both reflected on years of separation in silence. "I know what it means to be there for family. I was wrong to leave, and I should have been there for you for Mom." John clenched his jaw, wrestling with the idea of welcoming someone who had abandoned them in their most vulnerable moments. But Lisa seemed to be weighing something else. "Whatever you know, just tell us, Chris. We need to focus on Mom," she urged, her voice shaking slightly, revealing the fragility of the moment. All right, he said, taking a deep breath. "I heard from Aunt May. She said there are things Mom didn't want anyone to know. Secrets that could change everything about the way our family sees each other." John's heart sank at the ominous tone. "Secrets?" Lisa's eyes searched her brother's face. "What kind of secrets? What are you not telling us?" The air grew thick with tension, every second feeling like a weight dragging on their hearts. Chris opened his mouth, hesitation flickering in his eyes, and John braced himself for the storm about to unfold. Could this adversarial reunion crack open wounds that had barely healed? His mind buzzed with questions and doubts. What did he mean by secrets? What could possibly be hidden that would change everything? In that moment, the old family wounds felt daunting, looming over them like shadows ready to leap. Could their fractured bond be mended? Or would it all spiral deeper into chaos? As the silence hung heavy around them, John realized one thing: the unraveling had just begun. What darkness lay ahead as they approached the truth? Would the reality of their family's past bring healing, or would it only deepen the divide? The answers waited just beyond the door, and he could only hope that what awaited wouldn't tear them apart forever. The room stilled as Chris stood there, the air thick with uncertainty. John felt the weight of centuries of family history pressing down on them, layering their fragile existence with doubt and reticence. Lisa's vulnerability was palpable beside him, each breath she took pregnant with fear and hope. What secrets? She finally pressed, her voice trembling as she reached for understanding. Chris hesitated, his brows furrowed, as if choosing which fragments of truth to share. "It's about Mom, and choices she made. Choices that impacted us all," he finally said, the words spilling out like they'd been trapped inside him for far too long. John felt his pulse quicken. Could the tension in the room be filled with healing rather than more wounds? "Just tell us," he urged, his tone softer now, a silent invitation for honesty. At that moment, Lisa clasped his hand, grounding him, reminding him they were in this together. Chris let out a deep breath, glancing down as if pulling strength from the ground itself. "Mom kept old letters, hidden from everyone. I've seen them, pieces of her past, regrets, lost relationships that she never spoke about." "Lost relationships?" Lisa echoed. "What do you mean?" "People she trusted, friends and family, they all had to go at some point. There's so much history you don't know. I didn't understand the weight of it until recently, especially after hearing how much you two have been struggling," Chris confessed, tracing circles on his palm as if trying to wipe away old mistakes. Silence enveloped them. The kind that nudges at nerves and wraps tightly around throats. John felt a rush of conflicting feelings: anger, betrayal, hope. "Why should we believe you now?" he challenged, the instinct to protect Lisa clawing at him. I don't expect you to, Chris replied, his sincerity cutting through the tension like a knife. But I couldn't ignore Mom's pain any longer, and you shouldn't either. This is a chance to uncover truths that might heal us, maybe even her. Lisa's brow knitted in thought. We could go see her. Maybe she'll share those letters with us, she suggested cautiously, her determination flickering back to light. If there is something we can do to mend things. John glanced at Lisa, her vulnerability reminding him of the preciousness of family. But what if those truths tear us apart? What if it digs up old wounds without closure? Then at least we'll know, Chris stated, firm. As if on cue, John's phone buzzed again. This time it was a message from the rental company with an urgent invitation for a meeting about the offer. Choices proliferated, both real and imagined, resonating in the silence wrapping them. What do you want? Lisa asked Chris, tilting her head, searching for a flicker of humanity. Is it about fixing this family or just looking for a way back in? I want to help if you'll let me. It's time for us to face everything together, Chris admitted, his eyes sincere. John felt sweat bead along his brow, and the boundaries of loyalty and betrayal began to blur. This doesn't just affect you, Chris. It affects the life we've worked to build, he reminded, his voice heavy with apprehension. Then let's build something stronger, Chris implored. Something where mutual trust is rewritten. The room crackled with raw emotion, energy gnawing at old wounds and still fragile hopes. Okay, Lisa said gently, taking a small step forward. We'll talk to Mom. We'll go together. Just then, a knowing smile broke across Chris's face, no longer a stranger, but a fellow journeyer, shrouded in a fog of shared concern. We might need to lay everything bare, but secrets won't fix anything unless they're addressed. John nodded, feeling the unraveling of torment morph into something beautiful hope. A reunion, maybe it could lead somewhere, Lisa said, her enthusiasm returning, awakening something inside John. A thought flickered amidst 1,000 questions, maybe the chaos swirling around them was just the beginning, the dark before dawn, but as they made their plans, the ticking clock of choices pressed on. The weight of the rental offer still loomed in John's mind, like a dual-edged sword. It suddenly felt less about saving a business and more about crafting a life infused with purpose and interconnection. Then, together, we'll face whatever's coming, John declared, feeling a swell of determination. It was time to lean into vulnerability, to embrace risk as a pathway to growth. The path was fraught, and none could see beyond the horizon, but they would embrace the unknown together. As they prepared to leave, John shared a look with Lisa, an understanding that whatever lay ahead would be faced side by side. In that moment, hope blossomed within him stronger than the fear, redefining their journey into something beautiful. Now was the time to seize this chance, no matter what lay ahead, and right then, as they crossed the threshold together, John felt the renewing promise of tomorrow swell in the warmth of that connection, ready to weave new stories for their family built on trust, love, and the courage to rewrite the script of their lives. It was time to step into their truth. So, let's do this together. You need to subscribe now to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and keep this community thriving. Comment below your reactions and feelings about the ending. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation.